are still discussing about data manipulation in STATA. Experience has shown that data management, data cleaning, data exploration will usually take about 70 to 80% of your time, and the remaining will just be for data analysis. So it is a good practice that you learn, understand how to manage, manipulate, understand your data very well. It takes more time to manage your data, to manipulate your data, to clean your data, to explore your data, than the time you probably need to do the analysis. And because garbage in, garbage out. So how do you work around exploring your data? Yes.
Sorry, before you move on to today's lecture, I just have some few questions to ask you concerning the last lecture.
You know, okay, if they are quick questions, because
just some quick questions.
Okay.
From the STATA data, from the directory, for instance, the auto data, the data that are in STATA, it seems that if anyone can edit the data. Is that true? That anyone can edit and save the data?
Of course, you can resave the data. You can also re-edit the data.
But
only that
it
will no longer be in the startup package.
Okay.
Yes.
And another
so
question.
You can save the data in another name and then use it.
But you cannot resave in the STATA.
No, it will no. It's an inbuilt data and it's not subject to external manipulation. But you can resave it and use it to achieve your own purpose. Many people have used the same data differently, maybe for textbook or for classroom exercises.
Okay, thank you. I will end there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So today we are going to start by looking at using how we can use data as a calculator. Most people don't even know that virtually everything you do with your calculator can also be done on STATA. So this is one aspect that we hope to cover today. How can you calculate basic arithmetic and even including logical operations in STATA? Then, of course, we will talk about data reshaping. This is one of data management issues. Sometimes your focus is, you might have your data in a long format and you want to convert it to a wide format or vice versa. So first we will understand what do we mean by long data and what do we mean by wide data. And then we will learn how you can convert your long data to wide data and vice versa. 3, we will also learn how we can combine data sets using 2 basic commands, the merge and the append command. The 2 of them are used for different to achieve different purposes. When do we use the merge and when do we use the append commands? So those are things we hope to learn today. From now I will switch to the STATA environment so that everything becomes easy. So please, if you are not, please kindly mute yourself. Mute yourself. So in STATA, to do any, let me ask if this, if the font is big enough for you to see.
Sir, you can please help us to increase it, sir.
You can increase it, sir.
Okay, let me increase the one in the command. Let me increase to. Let me also increase this one too. Okay, good. So one command that you need to get familiar with if you have to use STATA as a calculator is the display command. Display command. But for for those who may want to know more about it, so you could just type help and see what you can have about display. So it normally display strings and values of a scalar expression. But we will discuss few ways by which you can use that command. So to use STATA as a calculator, display is very, and of course, let me show you again that for display, you may not even you may not type the entire word as a display. In STATA, there are ways you can just use the abbreviation, but I will show you some things now. Suppose I'm interested in simple arithmetic. Maybe I want to add 34 plus maybe plus 45. It won't work if you just type that way. So you have to type display 34 plus 45, and it will give you the answer. You could also, instead of typing the entire the letters in the word, you could just type even just DI, so you still have your answer. So this is one arithmetic operation. You may want to do a more complex arithmetic operation, which may involve even brackets like 7 in bracket 7 times another bracket times 6 minus 5 in bracket, then multiply that by 4. Divide that by 4, and then close the bracket and multiply whatever you get by minus 0.3. You do some of these kind of operations on your calculator, but at the same time, you can do them on STATA. So with this, you can just press enter and you get your result, minus 0.525. So that's arithmetic operation involving use of Bodmer's, multiplication, addition, subtraction, bracket, and so on. You could do fairly complex arithmetic operations even with the display command. Another type of thing you can calculate is mathematical operations. For instance, you could be interested in mathematical transformation like log of, let's say, 250. That could be of interest. So, so that is the log. So again, other operations like display exponent of any number, let's say 5.52346. You are just interested in the exponent of that. So again, you get your results. So those are examples of mathematical operations. But beyond that also, you could do statistical operations. In statistics, you could talk about distributions, normal distributions, and you may be interested in cumulative, standard normal distribution and things like that. So let's say I'm looking at normal distribution, and I'm looking at the cumulative standard normal distribution for 1.96. That is, you're actually looking at the proportion of the curve that is lower or equal to, less or equal to 1.96. So you just type display command followed by normal, and whatever be the value you want the cumulative standard normal distribution, you could get that. So that is simply saying about 97.5% lie below 1.96 in the standard normal distribution. That's expected ordinarily. Not only in normal, you could also be interested in other distribution like you may be interested in. Sometimes you do you used to find in those days before computer or before the use of p-values. We were always interested in finding the table value and so on. Now you could also even obtain the p value directly if you know the value of the computed empirical chi-square. So let's say I have a chi-square. Don't worry if some of those things are still. When we continue, you get to know about this distribution. But for those who know, please follow. So I may be interested in the p-value for a computed chi-square of, say, 2 degrees of freedom, and then the computed chi-square statistics of 6.45. Let's say I'm interested in this. So this gives me a p-value of 0.39755 and so on. And you can easily interpret this in terms of significance. So it's a way of interpretation. Maybe you say this is significant at 5% level. So you could also do for maybe t distribution, or obtain the table value for a t distribution. Let's say display t with this time it's not probability, but the table value. So if you have degree of freedom to be 50, and you have the computer statistics 0.984, so you could also obtain that, and then you could obtain the t probability if you now wish by putting the probability here. T probability of that value, let's say, when you give a different value, 5.4566, and then you can say even this one is significant at even 1%. So in a way, these are just some of the things you can use display command to do when you have to calculate or use STATA as a calculator. But even beyond that, if you cannot remember, you could easily go to data, and from data you will see other utilities here. I hope you are following. You will see hand calculator. So you could just click that, look at it again, data, then down to other utilities, hand calculator, and then you can click. So this kind of window is what we call dialog window, and it enables you to do quite a number of things. Whatever you want to calculate, you can create the formula from here and use any function. Like some of the ones that I've created, you could be interested in basic operators like arithmetic that I've used previously. You could be interested in logical, relational, and string. So you could just type your formula here, 56 plus maybe log of 8, just something like that, and then you say it's okay. You say it's okay, and then you submit. So you get your answer. So any formula for that matter can be obtained computed, or the values can be computed using the hand calculator dialog box. So again, you come to data, other utilities, hand calculator, and then you just write the expression. If you need to use any function, you can use the function. If you need to use variable, whatever, estimation, whatever system parameter, some of them, as you go, you get to use some of this. So that's the summary. If you need more help, if you want to reset, you can click this, so it will clean that previous formula. And if you need help, you can click help to give you help. And then if you need to copy a command to clipboard, you can do that from here. So this is the command, displays strings and values dialog box. This is display. The command is display, and you could just use dis, and so on like that.
Hello, Prof.
Hello, okay, Rauf, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. Please, just for knowledge sake, in terms of finding, using that display command to get the statistical figure, is it the, I think it's alpha comma degree of freedom, or you can bring degree of freedom first. Alpha maybe the level of significance, 1%, 10%, and like, or you can just type it anyhow. Maybe I want the terminal.
If you are dealing with p-value, you are the one who choose your level of significance. It's not part of the calculation. So you now compare the probability value with your level of significance.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Go on quickly.
Yes, sir. So for all the statistics command, it was only the T probability that worked for me. So I don't know, probably it's my own version of STATA that is not the...
No, it's not your own version. They didn't know your name before that version was created, and it was not created solely for you. I think maybe something went wrong somewhere.
Okay.
So don't ever have that impression that it's only version of your. The best thing is to look for where you got it wrong.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
So I think I'm having the same issue that you
I think I got it now.
talked about now. Most of the commands they don't play on my.
He has been able to get it. So
I think you don't put space before you use your brackets.
Yeah. So
you don't put space. That was a mistake I made.
Okay, great.
It's working now because that space I put.
Okay. So Joe, that was it. Joe, please check your own.
Hello, Professor. I have a question.
What's the question, please?
Okay. I go through to data, and after that, other utility and HAN calculator. And I try to compute one calculator there, but it didn't run like that. For example,
what are you trying to calculate?
I want to calculate the matrix.
Matrix.
Yeah.
Okay. We have not gone to those. You have not. Okay,
can you use one example? Use that page.
Sorry.
Use one example. Compute one calculation here, and I can see the way you.
I think I did. For instance, maybe arithmetic something. Maybe you want to look at 65 multiplied by log of 0.005, something like that. You could simply submit, and then you get that.
This is easy. Is to use brown.
Use what?
Create. Pass through by create, and it did something for me there. By create.
Okay, I don't want to introduce another command now.
Okay.
So as to keep the class in a steady and proper, well-guided line of thought. But if we have discovered something new, excellent. Since we are not having physical meeting, it will be difficult, and we are also bound by time. But I appreciate that, right?
Okay, thanks, sir.
Great. So let's move on to another concept which we want to introduce. That is about data reshaping. So before I go back to the the STATA, try to look at these two data sets. You will see that one is in long format, and the other one is in wide format. And what makes this one in long format? Yeah, so it appears I'm observing some countries over a period of number of years. For instance, in observation 1 here, I observed Nigeria I observed the GDP of Nigeria in 2018, observe it in 2019, observe it in 2020. I also observed same variable GDP of Ghana for the same number of years. But so we can see country being repeated. The third country is Kenya appearing again. Being observed, the GDP being observed for a similar number of years. So where you have a situation where an item or unit high is observed for J period, and the data is a structure is presented showing what happens at each period of observation. It will not necessarily be year that is here, it will not necessarily be months. For instance, if you are doing experimental studies and you are observing rabbits, for instance, maybe you have identified these rabbits. So maybe you have 3 rabbits, and then at the first you observe at the beginning of the experiment, and when you have intervention. So this will be the period you are taking sample, or the round of sample you are taking. This could be the subject that you are actually observing, and this could be what you are measuring or what you are observing on the subject. So you could observe at the first location, you observe at the second location, you observe. So you are, of course, they don't have to go in this order, because the first time you could observe the rat A, and at the same 2018 you observe rat B, and you observe rat C. And the next time you have to observe all of them again. So you could have your data in this format. So this format is regarded as the long format. So where you have each unit here also appearing several times. But in the wide format, that will be the data will become more compact, and so you won't be able to see units appearing several times. So in this format now, you can see Nigeria is only appearing, only that you now each period has now become, you have variable, for each period. So for GDP 2018, GDP 2019, so as it is now, you have country and GDP 2018. You have country and GDP 2019. You have country and GDP 2020. Sometimes you need to convert your long format to wide format to be able to do some kind of analysis, particularly in STATA. The reverse will also be.
Prof, sir, can I ask,
yes.
Can I ask a question at this point?
Please do.
Okay, sir, does that mean if you are reshaping the data from long to wide, you're actually increasing the number of variables? Is that correct?
You are actually. Can I hear that? I didn't.
Yeah, my question was, if you are reshaping the data from long to wide, does that mean you are increasing the number of variables?
Yeah, certainly, and yes.
All right, thanks, Prof.
You'll be increasing the number of variables, yes. So,
excellent, sir. Is it the same thing as transposing the table?
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as transposing. If I transpose this now, then you will have country, year, and you will have GDP. But you will have, so the columns here becomes row, and there will be 9 columns, 3 rows, rather than having 9 rows, 3 columns. So that is transposing. This is not transposing. So reshaping is not the same thing as transposing.
Thank you, sir.
You are welcome.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
Please, I want to ask that when the penultimate person asks the question that for the wide format that the variable has to be increased. In my mind, I was thinking that the variable will not have to increase, that since it is data reshape, then it should just be like a rearrangement of the longer format in a more concise way. So, but you said that the variable is going to be increased. Is it just the headings that you are talking about? Or what do you mean by the
even from this simple example, you will see that columns in STATA or any most statistical packages, columns they define variables, and then rows define what cases or observations. So you could see here that the columns here now, they are 4. They are 4 because they all depend on the levels of the year. They are 4 because they depend on the level of the years. And also, to a very large extent on the level of the countries. So but what determines the columns here is actually the level. In fact, another thing is if I have another variable being observed rather than GDP alone, you know it will be much longer than this.
Yes.
It will be much longer than this.
Hello, Prof. Sir.
Hello.
I think I will agree with the second or the second speaker. The variables haven't increased in any way, because what we have
increased. It has increased because the kind of operation you can do here is not the kind of operation you want to do here.
That is my argument, sir.
Okay.
What you are saying there, the 218, 219, 220 are all contained in the long data. I think what
they are contained,
the white white format.
What happens now is that in this
the white format has only restricted you to maybe a number of observations that you actually want to work on.
Just a minute. What you have now is more of cross-sectional data. So you have countries, and you can do. So it's giving you the country's picture at a given year. What you have here is that you can see the countries, each country over the years, over the period. Anyway, that is your position to save time, but there is no way the columns represent variables. So the more variable you have here, the more columns you have. And of course, that means you will have more variables in the wider format than you probably have in the long format. Is that okay? You can try
Then how many variables do we have in this long format, and how many variables do we have in the wide format?
In this long format, we have 3 and 4. We have 3 variables in the long format. Country is a variable, year is a variable, and GDP is a variable. So that has, because we have, for country, there are 3 levels, and for year, we also have 3 levels. So that is the reason why for the wide format, country is 3 here. So, and then the variables are now reflected in terms of the levels of the year. So collapse that variable, the year. That is the wide format. So in this wide format, you have country is a variable, GDP 2018 is another variable, GDP 2019 is another variable, because columns represent variables. Columns represent variables. So this is the definition, standard definition anywhere. Okay, so this is the data. So you must know how to enter the data, and I think we will now move back to the. So let me go back to the STATA window. So I was going through some of our listings. Some people are yet to know how to enter data directly. So for that purpose, maybe I will do that. So I have the data already, but I will just do this for the purpose of discussion. So please, you go to data editor, edit, and usually you start entering the data even before in STATA. You start entering the data before you even define the variable. Please take note of that. You start entering the data if you want to input your data directly. So I'm entering the long format now. So I'm not going to start with the variable name country, but the first observation, which is Nigeria. So once I type that, it will recognize it as a string and put it in color. That is the thing. Then again, the second variable is Nigeria. The third one is also Nigeria. And then, of course, Ghana, then Kenya. Of course, you can now enter the second one, 2018. So you can see, because it's numeric, it's black. So that is the way STATA is designed. 2019, 2020, 2018, 20.
Prof, is it possible to increase your font size?
For this one, I doubt.
Help us try it so that we can see
Okay,
clearly.
okay, great. We can be able to increase it. Let me see. Okay. Just right click the window. Let's make it 16. Is it better now?
Yes,
Is it
sir.
better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So,
Prof. It's better.
so 2019, and then 2020, 2018, 2019, 2020, and then of course the third one. This
Bro,
is
the first Kenya is 2010. I think you made a mistake, sir. The first Kenya, you wrote 2010. Kenya.
Kenya. Oh, sorry. 20. No, I wrote 2018.
Oh, you are correct, Prof. You are correct.
It's 2018. So the
You are
next.
correct, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. 397.2. So 448.1. 432.3. 67.3. 68.34. 68.53. 80.1. 80.1. 84.1. 83.9. So it is now, you can come here, click the variable, and then come here, edit, and call it country, and press enter. Then take the next variable, and come here, edit it, to change the name to be year, press enter, come here, and put the name to be GDP, and press enter. So you have changed the variable names. So this is how to enter. Once you have done that,
Sir, we are not getting this out.
Why?
Sorry, we didn't get that.
How to change the variable to become?
So come to the variable window. Come to the variable window. Can you see?
Okay.
You have your variable window, right?
Yes, sir.
You will see bar one. Yeah, click
It
bar
was
one.
in.
And then come to the property window and click where you have name.
Okay.
And then the column next to it, where you will have bar one. So use backspace to clear it and type the country there. Do this and press enter. Is it clear, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, Prof.
Oh, great. So you should be able to do for year.
Hello, sir.
Excellent.
Hello, it's not clear.
It should be clear now. It should be clear now. What is not clear there? Before I close
How do
this
you
one?
arrive at the changing of variables at the top? I'm trying it from my own side. It's not working.
Click that VAR1 variable one. Click it. Have you done that? So,
Hello, sir.
Prof, please move on.
sir.
Then, as you click it, come to the variable, the properties window. In the properties window, you will see name, and the column next to name, you will see variable one. Just delete what you have there and replace it with the variable name country.
Okay.
So you do that and press enter. That will now appear. It will now appear on the spreadsheet, on the head of the column head of the spreadsheet. Are you able to now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, clap for yourself. That's very good.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, also, if you can
Give me
use
half
the
my
command
data.
rename. You can use the command rename.
So, yeah, I'm coming to that. So if I close this window now, you will see that all the operations that I did, they have also been compiled in the review. So which means that even from review, you can enter your data without opening the data editor spreadsheet. And this is how the values are entered. The starting point is usually you set observation, So you generate, if it's a string, you put str, then you put the values and so on. But you can always be guided by this. You can also replace, you can also rename, as my brother mentioned. So rename is a command. So rather than doing the renaming in the property window, you could simply write a command. So this is the original name, and this is the new name that you are creating. So that has also, in a way, help you to see how you can rename and also replace, generate, all sorts of things. Excellent. But our focus now is, I can list these things to see what data that I've produced. This is the data that I've produced. So this is the data which is in the long format. And this is the format we want to, in this long format, we want to change to the wide format. How do we do that? Very easy. So you have to come to the data, and come to data utilities, and then in data utilities, you have to combine, create or change data, and then you will see other variable transformation, and then you will see convert data between wide and long. So I will leave it a little bit for you to see clearly. Are you able to see the route I follow?
No, sir, it's not clear, sir.
It's still on the screen. It's still on the screen.
But it's not clear.
There's no way I can make it better.
Can
you listen to me? Click on data. Have you clicked on data?
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Then go to create or change data.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Then go to look for other variable transformation commands.
Okay.
And then convert data between wide and long.
Okay.
Then click that one. Then this window will appear.
Yes.
Somebody wanted to say something.
Yes, I wanted to say something.
Yes.
I think for people that are finding it very difficult to see some of these things, like for example, now I'm using a particular phone because I have issues with my system. But what I do sometimes when I discover that it's too tiny is that I try to zoom on the screen. I'm using I try to zoom on the screen so I'm able to see what is happening. But the challenge I also have is that sometimes when you're working at the map of your system over there, like your screen that I've been shared, I mean, also you have to be very careful that you have gone to the corner, you have gone to the edge, so that we can follow.
Yeah, it's also, in fact, everything I'm saying is also in the slides. Everything I'm saying, you can see them in the slides, even if you can't see straight away like this. I made a screenshot of everything, and you can follow from the slides if you have challenges. Like this dialog window now, there is nothing you can do to expand it. You can't make it bigger. That is how it comes. You can't do anything about it. You can only change the font of the view window, command window, result window, and so on. But for this dialog, you can't do anything, or even at the menu, wherever, you can't change anything.
Excuse me, Prof. A brief question, Prof. Okay, before you go to your dialog window, you said we should go to data. We should click
data,
create or change data.
Go to data.
Create or change data. Other variable transformation command.
Other variable transformation, and then
so how do you
convert the first one? Convert
data between long and wide.
Yes, then this window will appear.
It's all right.
Excellent. Now we are here.
I say, sir, how about, for instance, I have my data in a different environment like Excel. How do I import to bring it?
We are. I think we have been taught how to import data. Have you not?
No, you need to watch a video. Don't be wasting video sent yesterday. Please make up video.
Please check the previous the last lecture. Please watch the video.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. So thank you, sir. We are now moving. Read the options very well. So long format from wide. So this one presumes that you have the wide and you are creating the long format from the wide. But remember, the one we have is long. So we are creating wide format from long. So this is the option we need to we need to select in this case. And then we need to indicate which variable represents the ID. So the variable representing the ID in our case is the country. So once you click that, you can press escape so that the other ones will disappear. Then the variable that we want to use for creating some observation, that is called the identifier, is actually the year. So we can have this, and these are the minimum thing you probably need, and you can submit. So submit. Okay, sorry. This is going to be XIJ. That is the variable we want to use for that. So we submit now. Great.
Prof, sir, I'm having an issue here, sir.
What's the issue?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Each time I get to that data command, each time I get to the data icon, whatever I click there will bring a kind of error message, unable to open so dialogue. You know, the other time we were doing, now it's unable to open reshape dialogue. The other time we were doing the calculator, whatever, is also being unable to something, sir.
What version are you using?
STATA 15, sir.
I don't know what the problem. Do you have a genuine license?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I wouldn't know what the problem is. But if there is nothing wrong with the I don't know what could be wrong at this time. So you might need a special attention. But so
thank you, sir.
We can list the data now to see what we want. So you can now see that we have moved from the long data to the wide data. So I can also, if for instance, I want the data in another, this one now, I can now treat this data more like a cross-sectional data in which you have the units and then the variable you are observing. So GDP 2018 will be taken as a variable. You only see this 2018 because we are dealing with year. If the issue we are dealing with is about period one, maybe you are considering, please mute yourself if you are not speaking. This background noise is also the reason why my phone is muted.
I think we need to call names here. Miss Maggie, mute yourself. Anything you want to do, you can do it. Mute yourself.
Thank you. That means my phone will not be muted automatically because background noise can mute the speaker. So the point I'm making now is this. You are seeing date here because our identifier, you know, which is the year, is actually in terms of year. For instance, like I said, if you are doing medical, maybe you are looking at patients and you have the first patient and you are observing the patient at admission. So if this is the period, maybe at admission, period one, at the point of after treatment, no, and then after discharge, you are taking this one. You won't see it as a year. So if you now have this kind of data, this could be the patient against the observations you have for all of them at the point of admission. So this is patient value of that maybe temperature, maybe whatever you are measuring, maybe BP during at admission. This will be the patient. This variable can be the value you are looking at treatment. This could be the value you are looking at discharge, and so on like that. So each of them becomes a variable. So you have as many variables as the number of variables in the original data and the number of levels in the identifier, in this case, year that we have. So that is the point. You you could also go back and change some things. You could produce another round of
This means, sir.
Huh?
This is giving me reshape not found. Year not found.
Huh?
Year not found.
No, it's because what happened here was I submitted twice. So if you submitted once, this should be the result. The error came because I made the submission twice, and it shouldn't be.
Okay, sir. Okay.
But you must have obtained it the first time, right?
No, that's what I'm asking. Thank you. Let me
Were you
check.
able to get? Were you able to get this?
No, sir.
Prof, letter list. Letter list.
List. We'll write here. Put list, and then you'll be able to get that.
Okay, sir.
Excellent, excellent. Now, the other thing I want to say is, in this case, we have moved from a long format to a wide format. In fact, from here now, I can move back from this wide format. I can move back to the long format. I can move back to the long format. But before I do that, look at the code. So if I were you, this is the reshape. This is the code you always need. So most often, if you know this code, you don't need to be going to the menu any longer. If you know this code, you could easily do a lot of things. So let me, for instance, let me clear this since I have the data, but don't clear it in your own. No, don't clear it in your own. If I clear now, so what I want to do, I will go to set my working directory. You have been taught that one, so I'm not going to, nobody should ask questions. If you don't know how to set what working directory, now try to listen to the lecture 3. Try to listen to lecture 3, and you will know how to set working directory. Working directory simply helps you to locate where your working files are. So, so in that file, I have, let me see, I have data file that I, so I have file that I call long. Okay, sorry. So I can say use long. That is my own data. And of course, let me, I have long data. Let me, this. Okay, so look at the data again. If I put list, so this is the long data, the one we have used, the same long data that we enter. Now, since I have the code, this is the command. So in the command, you state this is the most important thing there. So if you are moving to wide, the data must be in long. So you are reshaping wide from long. So the data must be in long. And then this is the variable. And then this is the unit high. This is the year J. So once you have this, you can run this by just pressing enter, and you have your result again. You can use list to view all over again. So you get this. Now we want to move back. We want to be able to move from this wide format to the long format.
Excuse me, sir.
So yes.
Please, I want to know something. Based on our command, I and G is mean what? What is the importance of I and G in that code?
What is the
importance of I and G?
I there is referring to the unit. And if you look at let me go to where you. So the high is the ID variable. That is the ID variable. I always prefer to call it the that is the unit that you are actually observing. So you are observing countries. Sometimes you could be observing individuals. And then the J is the identifier, is a sort of what uniquely identifies that unit. So in this case, every unit has its own year, and that's why you have the year. The variable here is the one that identifies for each variable. It captures the value of GDP for the identifier at a particular level. It captures the ID at a particular level of the identifier. So you can talk about X or GDP for Nigeria in year 2018. GDP for Nigeria is the height, is the high. High there is the first one. So the first one is Nigeria. The J is standing for the identifier. In this case, is the year. So the J stands for the identifier. The high stands for the ID. Those two concepts are very crucial for you to be able. You must know which one is ID. You must know which one is identifier before you will be able to reshape either from wide to long or from long to wide.
Okay,
so
thanks.
a little more practice
Yeah.
to make this very clear. So here we are now. We want to reshape now from wide to long. Yes.
Last question is to know that is it possible to change I maybe on A or B?
We
And
will,
J also.
why not? Let us. You will see what will happen. It depends on what you want to do. This thing is an example, and it also is ultimately the researcher knows or decides what to do. For instance, let me clear this. I could interchange the role, and then I could interchange the role. So let me use the long data. See the data again, list. So I could, rather than saying high is country, look at what will happen if I make high to be my year. This will also be what you actually need. It won't give error. This will be what you need. So if I run this, sorry, okay. Now, because our country is spring, we need to put an option. So if we are going to put an option, we will put, I think we will put string here. So what I've done is to put an option string there to let STATA know that it's string. Now list. Now maybe this is what we want. Here you have the year. Here you have GDP Ghana. Here you have GDP Kenya. Here you have GDP Nigeria. Is this what you want? Fantastic. So what this means is that you are looking at time series rather than cross-sectional, because you are looking at GDP Ghana over years, GDP Kenya over years, GDP Nigeria over years. If this is what you want,
thank you for this class.
Is it clear, everybody? So,
yes, sir. Thank you for the clarity, sir.
So it is just a matter of what you want. The reshape we made previously made it a cross-sectional data. This reshape has made it a time series data purely. And so it's a matter of interest and the objective you want to achieve. Thank you very much. Let's again clear. But even from here, I can move back. I can move back to the original data. So I can change it now to long. All I need to change is this long. And then I have. So I can list. So I got my data back. I got my data back. Yes, quickly.
Sorry, I have a question.
Please go on.
Actually, I have to take back a little bit. I'm so sorry for this. I was asking for the command number 60.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Command 60 on your review panel, review window.
Okay, command 60, yes.
Yes, I think you lost me over there because from there on, everything I try and do does not pan out. It all comes an error.
Sorry, you said you did what I did, right?
When you executed the command 60, I was
Yes.
a little tied up and I couldn't follow you. So right now, everything has been trying to follow you has been giving me an error.
No, you actually shouldn't have. If how do I put it? You know that command 60, I just tried to change the working directory, and why I changed it because of I already store my data there, but you shouldn't have changed it. You don't need to change it in any case.
Okay.
So what you can do now is in this window, select all, copy, or save everything, save all, and then save all. And if you have saved all, then you can restart your STATA and continue to follow me, so that you won't lose all those commands that you have. So I hope that works fine for you.
A question, sir.
Quickly. We have not done up to 30% of what I planned for today.
I'll be very
and we are left with less than 40 minutes. Quickly.
Want to use only the GDP that 2018 without using 2019 and 2020. How can we go about it? We only need data
Sorry.
from Ghana and Kenya for only 2018, the GDP for 2018. We don't need that of 2019 and 20. How do we go about it? What command can we use?
If you don't need the data for 2018,
2019 and 2020, all we need is GDP 2018. What can we do?
GDP 20, and you don't need 2019 and 2020.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but when we collapse the data and we got this one, and we got this one, you only need the one for 2018, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
You could delete these variables now. You can remove variables, but that's not what we want to do today.
It's all right.
Excuse me, Prof.
We can remove variables that we don't need. We can keep, we can drop, we can keep, we can drop, we can do anything.
Excuse me, Prof.
Okay.
Can the command sort working for her?
Can the
command sort work in this situation?
I don't think our interest is about sorting. I think
like sorting the.
She's trying to remove some variables after collapse. She's interested only in GDP 2018, but not 2019, 2020. So you could drop. We have not. If you come to here, you could do a lot of things with your data, including learn how to keep and learn how to drop, command. But that will be another day. Please, let's move forward so that we can cover this ground.
Please, sir.
Are you asking a question?
No, just to tell her. Also, she can use the command if to have just only the GDP of 2018.
Okay. So I'm sure she must have heard that. Let's now look at our next issue for discussion. So we now know how to reshape from long to wide and from wide to long. So I think that's a good achievement for today. One more thing that we want to talk about quickly is about issue of combining data. So we will now talk about combining data. So how do we combine data? Sometimes you have data that you have multiple data sets, maybe 2 data sets, and you want to match the 2 data sets. So, but imagine there are 2 concepts that you must be familiar with. That the first one is match, and the other one is append. Match and append. So we start with the match command. Match command involves 2 data sets, and you use this command when you have data set A that you want to match with data set B. In other words, they don't have to have the same set of variables. So you could have a new set of variables in B, which you now want to augment, but they must have certain identifier that can make them to really come together. So in short, the match command is only used for adding new variables. So the 2 data sets that we have, we will call the first one, the one that we are working, that is currently in the working session, is the master data set. And then the second one is the using data set. The master data set is the one that is in your current working session that you are currently working on. So you must have possibly opened that one, and then you can now, the one that is saved, is your using data set, which you are now going to merge with the master data set. So those 2 concepts, you must know them. Using data set, master data set. Master data set is the one you are using in your current session. And then the using data set is the data set saved already in your working directory, but you now want to match that data set with the master data set. So merging can be performed, there is one-to-one, there is many-to-one, there is one-to-many, and we also have many-to-many. Even though many-to-many is not usually encouraged, but we can still discuss it if time permits. But the one you will probably need most often is one-to-one, many-to-one, and one-to-many. So what do we mean? Let's start with one-to-many. In one-to-many, look at the data we have here. Look at this data set. So if you look at it, I call it my data 1. I call it this one my data 1. Let's say I have data from 6 students, and this is their ID, maybe matric number, whatever identifies those students, matric number, name, whatever, registration number, whatever. So there are 6 of them. And then I have the agenda, and I have maybe household size, or I could also call it the maybe household number, whatever. So, and I have yet another data. Maybe this data again is obtained from the bursary department. Maybe this data is obtained from the department. This is obtained from bursary department. But their matric number in the department is still their matric number in the bursary. But this is their income, or maybe allowances. And I have that in my data too. Now I'm going to do a study which requires that I use the agenda, I use the household, I also use their income. Now I need to combine these data sets. So therefore, this data set, these 2 data sets can be combined on the condition that this ID uniquely identify observations in the first data as well as in the second data. So if the matric numbers here uniquely identify the gender and the household. And the same set of matric numbers here uniquely identify income. Then these two data sets can be combined on the basis of that variable ID that uniquely identifies variables in both observations in both data sets. I repeat before I now go to the STATA window. So in one-to-one, in combining data set with one-to-one match, you need two data sets. Data set one that has a unique identification variable. I call that ID. And I give you an example that this ID could be matric number. And if you are doing survey, it could be household identification number. So if you have that, most national studies, household study, if they are using particular household, they normally give unique identification numbers to household. So it could be the basis for merging data in wave 1 with data in wave 2 and other subsequent waves, because the unique identification number can help identify variables connected to them. So the condition is that this ID uniquely identify observations here, and at the same time uniquely identify incomes here. So it's the basis that allows the two data sets to be combined. So let's go to what happens now in the STATA. So in STATA, of course, we don't already have the data that I want to use. So, but hello. The data I want to use is the data I want to use. Let me is the
Hello, sir.
Yes, my data one. So let me show you my data one. You may not be able to enter the data, but you can listen to this video and enter the data yourself, or I can share the data with you later. So it's a simple data, my data one. Sorry. Use.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, good.
Hello.
Hello. So this is my data one. Yes.
Please, I want to know something based on using data and master data. I want to know, give us one example to understand. Because we create one data set.
I've gotten your question. Which data am I using now? Which data am I using? This is my data one.
My data one.
That's okay. So my data one is the data in my working that I'm using currently. And that data will now be the master data. The second data I want to use, let me show you. Though before I can show you, I have to clear this one. So look at the second data, use my data 2. This is the data list so that you can see, sorry. So this is the data. Now two things can happen. Since this is the one in my session now, it has become my master data set. So the one I clear is still in the working folder. So I can always call it. But this one that is in my current working session is the master data set at this moment. So the one that I want to match with it is the one that I will call using data set. So, and why do I need that? You will know why it is called using data set. Now, so normally, if you are combining data, you go to data, you go to combine data set, then you will see match two data sets. I repeat, go to data, go to combine data sets, and then select match two data sets. And then this window will appear. You will have 5 options there, 1-to-1 on key variable, that is the identifier variable. many-to-one on key variable, unique key for data, one-to-many on key variable, unique key for data in memory, many-to-many on key variable, one-to-one by observation. But the one we want to deal with now is one-to-one on key variables. In other words, we have a key variable which is ID, which uniquely identifies observations in this master data set. So it will ask for the key variable that I want to use. And that key variable is actually the ID. So you click ID and you press escape. Then which data are you trying to match? That is the file name of data set on the disk. So you can just type the file name here, which is my data one, because the one I have now is my data two. So I can have that. So the two data sets have been matched, you know, and you can see the one that is that I indicated, my data one, is the using data. You can see the command generated now. So if you type list, so the data now has been matched with the same ID. I now have income, I have the sex, I have the household. This is information about number of matches, you know, in the data. So there are three matches. So here. So I now have the two data, that is this one, which has 3 variables, together with this one, which has 2 variables. But because the ID is here, and the ID is here, which directly, so the new data set will actually have 4 variables, because that ID is unique to the 2 of them. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prof.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Prof.
Excellent. So you should be able to match any data set one-to-one. What you need is to look for is which one, where is the key? Where is the identifier? Which variable is the unique identifier? No. Excellent. This is a good class. I can also, if I start with the, let's say I clear this one. I could possibly open my data one, use my data one, and then simply type. So I can match. So my data two now becomes using data, while my data one, you know, becomes the master data. I don't think using this also has anything to do. So you could still have this, and you could list. So I have the 2 data sets now matched. So that's how to match one-to-one.
Perfect.
Yes, quickly.
Oh, Prof, he's asking, I typed a message on the chat box and he's saying that, please, how can I go about merging of data with unique identifier not well arranged? For example, instead of having ID 1 to 6, the ID was disarranged. I don't know if you got that question, sir.
Yeah, I think it's not a big thing. The system will do all of that, as long as you don't even have to be in serial number like this. You know, it's just like matric number. You know, matric number may not be in serial order, but what happens is that the matric numbers you have here must also be the set of matric number, so that matric number for you that captures your gender and your household, here that same matric number is the one capturing your income. So it doesn't matter if it is placed here or anywhere.
A brief question.
Eh?
A brief question, Prof.
Go on.
Must the unique identification number have the same number of observation with the merged variables, the other variables in the data set?
No, if they are not, then it will put not available.
Not available.
You will see dot. If it's not, if there is if for a particular one there is no observation there, it will put dot there.
Okay, thank you.
So is that okay, everybody? Now let's move on to another type of another way of combining data. this is many to one. This is many to one. This is very interesting. Unlike the other one, which requires that you have ID here and then ID that uniquely identify. In many to one, you only need to have identifier, unique identifier, only in one data set, and it doesn't have to be in the other data set. Look at this data, for instance, ID uniquely identify this, but there's no ID here that uniquely identify. The only thing we can see is that there is household here. There is household here. So definitely we cannot, there's household here, but household here does not uniquely identify observation here. Household uniquely identifies observation here. In other words, this one doesn't, ID is not here, so there is why ID can uniquely identify here, ID observation is not here. So we cannot use ID. But when we look at household, so of course the variable we must use must be a variable that is in both. The only additional requirement is that it must uniquely identify observations in one, not necessarily in the two. So household uniquely identify region here, but household does not uniquely identify observation. So we can't use ID as the ID variable. We can't use set as the ID variable because, of course, ID is not even here. Set is not even here. So we can't use. But household is here. Household is here. We can see that it identifies region uniquely, whereas here it doesn't identify ID sets uniquely. So this is many to one. How do we do that? Let's go to our
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
My question is to know that because we say that it is many to one.
Yes.
The second, why we say that it is one? Because household is in the second data, but it is not the same like in the data one.
You see,
and then we
the many we are talking about, I think you will appreciate it when we finally do this combination. Now, in the first one is ID to ID, so it's mapping one to one. It's mapping one to one. But you will see now that this one is actually mapping region to all of this. It's mapping region to each observation, to each ID here. So it will identify which region is for ID 1 based on the household here. Which region is for ID 2 based on household here. So it's actually mapping many to one. Is that okay? So let's do it, and then you'll be able to see what happens now. So let me clear this, and let's see the data for my data 1. Let's see my data 1.
Use, sir.
Sorry. Use my data 1. Oh, you can list. Let's see this list. So this is my data 1. Again, so I now want to combine this data with the second data, which is the second data. Let me show you before
My data 3.
this. So let me show you my data 3. Use. My data 3. Great. So this is the data I have, right? So this is my data 3. So if I'm going to match this with my data 1, look at my data 1. So this is my data 1. So I can now use the command. Let me just use this one. Since I'm going to do many to one, then I'm going to use this time. the variable I'm going to use will be household, not ID any longer, but I'm going to use my data one. I think this is clear to everybody. So does not uniquely household using my, oh, sorry, it should be my.
You've changed your data set.
I've changed my data. It should be my data 3. Thank you. My data 3. Excellent. Thank you very much. And then you can list now. Can you see what has oh wow, what has happened?
Yes, how do we get this data?
Your master data, sir. Your master data is still, I think.
Let me
Yes.
I
think you changed your master data set.
I've changed my master data set. The master data set I want to use is my
data.
I use
my data 1.
My data 1. Yes.
1.
Yes. So let's list. Sorry. Okay, this is the data I want to match. So let me. So let me use this now. So I'm matching many to 1, and I'm using household, and I'm using my data set
data 3.
3. Yes. So
Yes, sir.
Great. So I can list now. You will see I have been able to combine. You can see even the ID is not serially number. But what has happened is that now is that
identify it.
This second ID, which is email, which has household 1, in the other data is actually from Africa. Because what happens is that this data 3 tells which region that household comes from. It comes from Africa. So any data set, any observation that comes from 1, any observation here with 1, 1, 1 will be Africa. So 1, 2, 3 will be Africa. That's why you have 1, 2, 3, all region coming from Africa. Then 6, Europe, 4, Europe, 5, Asia. So this is how you match many to 1. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is 701. I don't know if we can stop. Mr. Redele.
Yeah, hello, Prof. Thank you. Well, if you have a few minutes, maybe except you are comfortable with where you are, where you want to stop. And I'm also sure that may have people that have questions that might want to ask 1 or 2 questions. So we might want to entertain that.
So, as a matter of fact, the rest you can follow in that. Let me show you. You can easily follow up in the slide. So this is one we have just done, many to 1, and then of course you will see the result. Hello.
Prof, please, this particular PDF that you are using as a manual for us, do you have it in our class as in so that we can download it too, and then so that we can use it for our own personal?
You mean this slide?
Yes.
It's on our classroom.
Okay.
So you can download and follow. That's the advantage.
And the data set, sir. The data set you are using, sir.
Of course, it's easy now to enter your data manually. So you have seen the data, you can enter them yourself manually. But I can also share it. I can also upload the data for you. But a good way to practice is to enter your data, start use that also. But I can share it. I generated those data myself. So this is a case of 1 to many. It's just like what happened. So this is 1 to many. It's just the opposite. Interestingly, whatever you can do with many to 1, you can also do with 1 to many. So it's the same. They work well in the same data. So like my data 3 can also be matched with my data 1 because you have HHD household uniquely identifying observations in my data 3 only and not in my data 1. So it's just the other side of one to many. But whatever you do for one to many to one can also be done from. So any data set that can be matched using many to one may be matched using one to many, just by reversing the roles of the master and then using data sets. As I said earlier, many to many is possible, but it's usually not advisable. Even in STATA manual, if you go to STATA manual, they didn't give example. They even advise you that you should not even use it at all. I gave the reason why you should not use it. If master and using have an equal number of observations within the group, then the last observation of the shorter group is used repeatedly to match with subsequent observations of the longer group. So therefore, many to many matches are dependent on the current sort order, and something which should never happen. So you might need to sort the data sets before you can use, but it's completely discouraged. It's not something one should be using. The one we are not able to do today is append data set, but it's very easy. Just like we did for look at this diagram. When we are merging data, you have the master, you have the using. So imagine you are actually increasing the number of variables, as you must have seen in the examples that I've done. But to use append command, you are not increasing the variables, rather you are increasing the observations. As you can see, this is master, but you are adding the using to it. So the number of observations is increasing. But in merging, the number of the variables is what is increasing, not observations. But in appending, the observations are the one increasing, not the variables. And it's easy. If I have these two data sets, maybe I have data set for East Africa, and I have this country for East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and the GDP population. I just put these figures, they are not realistic. And I have data for West Africa, and I also have the GDP, the population. So in appending two data sets, I must have the same number of variables. That is very, very important. And I mentioned it here. Appending two data sets require that both have variables with exactly the same name. So they must have the same name. Country here, GDP, GDP, population, population. So if I now append, I will need to go to data, go to combine data set, and then append. Append data set. And then this window will come up. You will now select the variable, the data you want to append, and then of course, every other thing default. You click OK, and then the two will combine, and you will now have the number of variables, the number of observations now you can see have increased. You can now have data both for the East Africa and also for West Africa together in one place. Thank you very much.